Hi, it's Paul. I said in our last video we'd talk a little bit more about what we're going to do with this new studio and how it's going to kind of work. So the notion is that those of us who care about the fidelity of recordings, I mean audiophiles, of which I'm an audiophile, our company, PS Audio, makes high-end audio equipment, right? So we got to have great recordings in order to enjoy the magic of our systems. And there's plenty of great recordings out there, though they are getting fewer and fewer, and that worries us. It also worries us that musicians, great musicians, like my friend Dan Schwartz, he's one of the best bass players in the world. Dan's played with Sheryl Crow, he's played with June Cash, Johnny Cash's wife, Bill Bottrell. I mean, just any number of great tracks. And he's a brilliant musician, and yet Dan can't make a living as a musician anymore because everything has changed. And for some, it's better. For the music listening populations out there, it's better. But for the musicians, it's not so good. And for recording quality, it's not so good. As we talked last time, the advent of the home studio, that musicians are outfitting themselves and attempting to make decent recordings. And a lot of people, hey, you know what? They don't care. They just want the music, and if it sounds flat, if it's lost its dynamics, if it has no life to it, or it's too bright, or something that we as music lovers that also enjoy great sound and fidelity, we're like, God, if only we could get that same music sounding great, right? Okay, so all that's going on. What can we do about it? Well, we are going to build, we're in the process of building a studio. Gus Skinnis, a world-renowned mastering engineer, has put his shingle up outside our door upstairs. We've given him a nice, beautiful space. He's built this wonderful mastering studio, and it just sounds lovely. And to that, we're going to add a recording console. We just bought I'm pretty sure it'll be the Studer, this 40-channel mixing board recording console. Then we're going to gut the thing and put all new electronics in it and really, slick it up so where it just sounds perfect, right? And we're going to, collect the great microphones. We have the skills, we have the studio space, and then we'll gather musicians who want to take advantage of this, and we will make it possible for them to record at zero expense to them. So, in back in the day, artists signed up with labels, right? Recording labels, Atlantic, Capitol, any number of, you name it, recording labels, and the labels were the ones that financed everything, right? The labels paid for the studio time, they paid for the producer, they paid for the pressings of the albums and the pressings of the CDs, the distribution, the marketing. And unless you were a big wig musician, you got very little of that. Most musicians were lucky to get a deal. Here I am at the market, so we're gonna have white bean soup along with what did she say I was supposed to get? Oops, what was it? White bean and something, I forgot. I got it written down on a list. And here's a great parking place. This silly car of mine can park itself, but that actually takes concentration, and I'm not doing that. So we'll just sit here for a minute and just chat, and then I'll head out and figure out what the navy bean soup is going to be. What else is going to be in it? Oh, potatoes. That's right, and we already have potatoes. Okay, so how do I get off on that? Because we're at the market, right? Okay, so the labels financed everything. And musicians, unless, again, you were really big, got a very tiny bit of it. Not a great deal of money. And you had to really, to make money, you either had to be a big name or go out and do a lot of touring or any number of things. It was a tough enough life as it was. Add to that now the demise of most of the labels because, people say, it's because of pirating. It's because, iTunes and Spotify and streaming has destroyed everything. And to some extent, of course, that is a factor in all of this. There's no denying it. The way I look at that is it has changed. It hasn't gone away. It just isn't the way it used to be. And so musicians have to change along with it. So how do musicians, talented, brilliant musicians who don't have access to this funding, this label, how do they get involved? And how does a label like a PS Audio label, whatever the heck we're going to call it, which we still got to figure that out, right? How are we going to make it possible for musicians to make money? Because we're not a giant company. We can't afford to start just cutting giant checks for everything. So what we figured out is a very different scenario. We'll fund and build a great studio at our expense. Okay, they put a couple $100,000 into it. It's not huge. We'll call it the shoestring label, right? But it'll be world class because we have tons of donations from all kinds of wonderful people. Mickey, a local wonderful producer. There's just, oh boy, everybody's out there to help us. Okay, so we put the studio together. Now what? Well, we bring talent in, we record them for free. And this is all on our dime, right? You come in, you spend a couple of days, you put your album together, a week, whatever it takes. It's mastered beautifully by Gus Skinnis. It'll be one of the better recordings around of any studio. It'll sound great. It'll be mixed the way they want. And they'll wind up with a master tape that'll be done in DSD, which is kind of like analog streaming, if you will. DSD is a format not to be found on CDs. It's the primary format of SACDs, but it is as close to analog as you're going to get. And in fact, in my view, far better than analog tape and absolutely better than PCM, okay? Which PCM is what CDs are mastered on. So it'll all be done in DSD. We have a 32-track DSD Sonoma recorder. We have this 40-channel Studer board that we'll do. And they'll be handed this tape in DSD, in high-resolution PCM, and in CD quality. It's theirs. Go with God, have fun, it's yours, right? They still haven't made any money because how are they going to distribute this thing? What are they going to do with it? Well, for some, that's not a problem. They have places to put it, distribution channels maybe that their label already has, but they have a master, and we do too. So here's the deal, and here's how this works. As audiophiles, we have an audience out there, maybe it's you listening to this, that love music and love fidelity. And if we do our job well, I think we can probably move 800, 1,000 high-resolution copies of this. And if we take that money, cover our expenses and the mastering and all that, we'll be able to hand these musicians a check for $10,000, $12,000, I don't know. We haven't figured this all out. I mean, they're going to get 30%, 40%, a big portion, where labels used to maybe give 1%, maybe 2%. So we'll cover all the expenses of pressing, of recording, of mastering, everything to do with it. Get it out to our core audience who are desperate and hungry for great music and great recordings. And we'll sell them for, I don't know, $40, $30, whatever it is, because, I mean, these will be, we'll try and do vinyl, we're going to do CD, we'll do high resolution, you can, DSD. I mean, we'll make it something that our audiophiles love, and it'll be something that we'll look forward to. and we'll hand a large portion of that money over to the musicians. Gus will be taken care of. The studio will pay for itself by its products, and life will be good. Are we going to sell millions? No, and we won't be at the Grammys. No, but we don't need to. What we need to do is create great music with great fidelity for people who give a shit, right? And maybe you're one of them. I hope you are. But that's what we're going to do. So that's the basis of this whole thing. That's how all of this is going to work. And it's a crazy idea. It's one of these, like, McGowan's come up with an but the whole crew, everybody at PS Audio and Gus, we're all in on this. I mean, we think this is one little piece of how we solve this problem of getting the ability for musicians to make a living, to produce glorious sounding recordings, and to get them into the hands of people who care. And if that's you, whether you're a musician or whether you are an audiophile or just somebody who loves music, then stay tuned, because far more is yet to come. Next time, we're going to talk about this naming business. We've got to come up with a name for the studio. And I hope you can help me. And if you can't, at least we'll walk you through the process. And together, we'll see where this winds up. Okay. I better go get that, navy bean and potato soup. Okay. Don't want to let Terry down. Talk to you later. Bye.